You've just lost your partner, and now you have this nagging fear. Is the home you shared for all those years about to become this huge financial problem? Well, let's find out. And look, this isn't some weird, obscure financial corner case. It is an incredibly common question for millions of couples who own their homes together. The good news is the system actually has a really specific and frankly helpful way of handling this. To get it, we just need to start with one key legal term.
It all comes down to how you own your property on paper. For a lot of couples, the deed will list them as joint tenants, and that little detail, well, it's critical. If that's your situation, the rules work very, very much in your favor. So what on earth does joint tenants actually mean?
Okay, let's get a clear definition, because this concept is really the magic ingredient that makes this whole process work so smoothly.
Now see that phrase at the end, by operation of law. That's just a fancy way of saying it happens automatically. It's like a legal shortcut. It means the deceased person's share of the house doesn't get tangled up in their estate. It doesn't have to go through probate with the will. The law itself just handles the transfer instantly.
And this just lays it out perfectly. So, step 1, you and your spouse own the home together as joint tenants. Step 2, sadly, one of you passes away. And then, poof. Step 3, the surviving spouse becomes the 100% owner. Just like that. There's no sale, there's no complex deal, it's an automatic legal handoff. But what does that mean for your taxes?
And here it is. This is where the tax code provides some much-needed relief. There's a special rule designed for this exact scenario, and it's called the spousal or common law partner rollover. Let's see how this rule protects you.
The key word here, the most important word on this slide, is postponed. The tax system basically sees the transfer happen, but it hits a giant pause button on any taxes that might be owed. That capital gain doesn't just vanish forever, but it gets deferred. It gets rolled over to the surviving spouse. You don't have to deal with it right now.
So you're probably wondering, how do they actually do that? How do they make the tax just pause? Well, it's a pretty clever bit of accounting, actually. On the deceased person's final tax return, the house is reported as being sold to the surviving spouse. But, and here's the trick, the sale price is listed as its original cost. So if you bought the house for, say, $200,000, it gets reported as sold for $200,000, even if it's worth $1 million.
So if the sale price is exactly the same as the original cost, what's the capital gain? You guessed it, a big, beautiful zero. There's no profit to tax. This is the simple mechanism that makes the spousal rollover work, and it means no capital gains taxes due when your partner passes away. That's a huge relief.
Okay, so that makes sense. If there's no gain, that brings up another really important question. What about the Principal Residence Exemption? You know, the PRE. That's that super powerful tax rule that lets most people sell their main home without paying any tax on the profit. Do you need to use it here?
I mean, it's a totally logical question, right? If the gain is already zero because of that rollover trick, why on earth would you waste your valuable exemption on it? Well, the tax authorities have a very clear answer on this. And the answer is actually really strategic. On the deceased's final tax return, you do not need to designate the home as a principal residence. And why would you? There's no gain to exempt, so you save that powerful exemption for later. Then, down the road, when the surviving spouse eventually sells the home for real, that's when they claim the PRE for all the years the couple owned it. And that's what will shelter the actual capital gain from tax. It's a pretty smart system. So, we've walked through the legal setup and the tax rules. Let's just boil it all down and put it together so you have the essential points you need to remember. All right, let's recap. First, owning your home as joint tenants is the absolute key. It makes the transfer automatic. Second, the spousal rollover rule is your best friend. It postpones any tax, so the gain on that final return is zero. Third, you get to save your valuable principal residence exemption for when you might actually sell the house later on. And finally, and this is your main action item, keep good records. You're going to need to know all the years the home was your principal residence to make that claim work properly down the line.
So you can definitely have some peace of mind about your main home. The rules are really there to protect you. But this whole process, it kind of brings up a bigger question, doesn't it? The spousal rollover can apply to other things too, but the rules can get a lot more complex with stuff like investment portfolios or a family cottage. It really just shows why understanding these rules is so crucial, not just for your home, but for your entire financial legacy.